Have you ever felt that your faith is a flickering candle in a hurricane, where the weight of your calling threatens to extinguish the very light you were meant to carry? Before we dive into the shadows of a prophet's heart and the secrets of a forgotten name, take a moment to subscribe and join our community of seekers, ensuring you never miss a revelation that could anchor your soul in the storms to come. We often imagine the heroes of our faith as monolithic pillars of stone, untouched by the tremors of human despair, but history whispers a different truth. Deep within the dusty chronicles of the antediluvian world, beyond the well-trodden tales of the Ark, lies a mystery that has haunted theologians for millennia. We are talking about the shadowy figure of Enoch, not the one who walked with God and vanished, but the name whispered in the lineage of Noah, a son whose existence challenges everything we thought we knew about the judgment of the flood and the mercy of the divine. Imagine the atmosphere as the skies began to bruise with the color of an impending apocalypse. Noah is the man of the hour, the architect of salvation, and the voice crying out in a wilderness of moral decay. We see him gathering gopher wood, his hands calloused and bleeding, his eyes perpetually fixed on a horizon that refuses to yield a single drop of rain. Yet, in the periphery of this monumental task, the narrative of his family remains strangely muted. There is a weight in the air, a tension that suggests the story of the flood is not merely about boats and animals, but about the fragmentation of a bloodline and the silent, agonizing cost of righteousness. It is here that we encounter the figure who bridges the gap between the ancient Enoch and the rising waters of the deluge. Some ancient texts speak of a hidden legacy, a son who stood at the threshold of two worlds, representing the internal conflict of every person who feels like an outsider in their own family, even when their family is tasked with saving the world. Think about the silence of a house, where the mission outweighs the relationships. Noah is focused on the command, his ears tuned only to the frequency of the Creator. But what of those who stood in his shadow? The mystery of this hidden son is a mirror reflecting our own exhaustion when the divine calling demands everything, leaving us with nothing but a hollow chest and a weary soul. You see, the burnout that Elijah would experience centuries later, that moment under the broom tree where he begged to die, was not a sudden onset. It was the culmination of a prophet's isolation. Elijah had faced the fire of Carmel. He had stood against the tyranny of Ahab and Jezebel. And yet, in the quiet aftermath of victory, he found only a profound, crushing emptiness. He realized that the triumph of the truth often feels like a defeat for the human heart. Consider the sensory reality of Elijah's flight. The hot, dry wind of the desert scraping against skin already ravaged by sun and travel. His sandals are worn thin, the leather cracked like the earth he walks upon. He is running from a queen's threat, yes, but he is truly running from the expectation of being a conduit for power. He wants to stop. He wants the current of the divine to bypass him for a moment because the current is too strong, and he is only flesh and blood. Is it possible that the lineage of Noah, reaching down through the generations to the time of the prophets, carries this recurring theme of the lonely vessel? To be chosen is to be separated, and separation, when prolonged, curdles into a deep, visceral ache. We look at the life of Elijah, and we see the pattern of the burnt-out servant. He did not need a lecture on theology. He needed bread, water, and the gentle touch of an angel. He needed to be reminded that his value was not tied to his output, but to his existence in the presence of the Almighty. We must ask ourselves why we are so terrified of our own exhaustion. We treat burnout as a sign of pouring out everything without being refilled at the source, rather than a moral failure. The mystery of the hidden son in the story of Noah serves as a reminder that even in the most significant divine plans, there are layers of grief and hidden narratives that God acknowledges. You are not a machine built for infinite production. You are a soul designed for communion. If the prophet who called down fire could reach a breaking point, why do you judge yourself so harshly for feeling like you are drowning in the shallows? The struggle is not a rejection of your faith. It is the refining fire that burns away the ego, forcing you to confront the reality that you cannot sustain your life on your own strength. As we move deeper into this exploration, consider the silence of the heavens during the time of the flood. Imagine the sensory experience of waiting for the rain, the smell of ozone, the heavy metallic tang of an atmosphere charged with judgment, the absolute silence of a world that refused to believe. This is the ultimate spiritual struggle, to believe in the promise when the world around you is rotting and your own family is caught in the crossfire of destiny and disappointment. The hidden sun symbolizes the part of ourselves we try to bury because it does not fit the narrative of productivity. That part of you that is tired, that part that is angry, that part that wonders if the sacrifice is worth the outcome. Bring that to the light. It is not a sin to be weary. It is a part of the journey. Think of the way light hits a prism. One beam enters, but many colors emerge. In your life, the beam of faith enters, but the complexities of your human experience, your stress, your doubts, your hidden histories, often color the result in ways you did not anticipate. You might be the person in your family who carries the weight of the future, feeling like you have to build the ark alone, watching your siblings or your peers drift away into the currents of the world. The pain of that distance is real. It is a spiritual ache that requires the same ministry that the angel provided to Elijah. It requires a radical acceptance of your humanity. We often seek grand revelations, hoping for a burning bush or a whirlwind to clarify our purpose. But the lesson of the prophet under the tree is that God is often found in the whisper, not in the earthquake of your problems, not in the fire of your anxieties, but in the still, small voice that asks you the most important question of all. What are you doing here? It is a question of identity. Not what are you doing for me, but who are you when the work stops? Who are you when there is no one left to lead? Who are you when the ark is sealed and you are left with only your own thoughts? The secret of the hidden sun is that his story is never truly concluded because it is being written in the hearts of everyone who feels the isolation of the faithful. You are not alone in your shadow. The God who visited the prophet in his darkest hour of burnout is the same God who oversees the archives of history, holding every forgotten name and every unexpressed prayer. Your spiritual growth is not a straight line ascending to the heavens. It is a spiral circling back to the same truths level after level until you finally understand that your worth is not something you earn. It is a gift you receive. Let the mystery of the past inform your present. Do not let the burden of the mission blind you to the presence of the sustainer. You are in a season of transition, a season where the old structures of your faith are being tested by the pressures of your current reality. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a deeper, more authentic connection. The silence you are experiencing is not an absence of God. It is a space being carved out for a new melody. Listen closer. The rain is coming, not to destroy, but to wash away what has become stagnant in your walk with the divine. As we reach the conclusion of this reflection, remember that the story of the flood was never just about survival. It was about a new beginning. The hidden sun, the weary prophet, the struggling believer, all are threads in a tapestry that only the master designer can fully perceive. You are vital to this design, even in your fatigue, even in your hidden doubts. You have a purpose that survives your burnout and transcends your current confusion. If this journey into the mysteries of the faith has touched a chord within your soul, if you feel that the still, small voice is finally being heard above the roar of your daily struggles, then I invite you to take the next step. Our mission is to provide a sanctuary for your spiritual growth, a place where the difficult questions are not just asked, but honored. Click the link in the description to join our exclusive mailing list where we share deeper insights, guided meditations, and personal reflections that cannot be found anywhere else. Do not let this moment of clarity fade back into the noise of the world. Take the step today to solidify your connection with the divine. Your story is still being written, and it is a story of hope, redemption, and a connection that can never be broken. Keep seeking, keep questioning, and above all, keep listening for that whisper in the silence. You are far more loved and far more significant than you could ever imagine. The resonance of those final words lingers, a quiet echo in the sanctuary of your thoughts. Yet the path forward is rarely a straight line drawn cleanly across the map of our lives. It is more often a winding trail, obscured by the dense thickets of our own anxieties and the relentless demands of a world that thrives on distraction. To understand the transition you are now navigating, we must look beyond the immediate discomfort of your current season and examine the mechanics of how the soul truly expands. Growth is seldom a pleasant process. It is a shedding of scales, a breaking of old, brittle shells that once provided security, but now only offer restriction. Consider for a moment the nature of the desert. In our modern language, we often use the desert as a metaphor for abandonment, a place where life withers and the spirit runs dry. But in the ancient wisdom that informs our tradition, the desert is the crucible. It is the place where the excess of the ego is stripped away. When you are surrounded by the infinite horizon of sand, stripped of the comforts of the city and the validation of the crowd, you are finally forced into an encounter with the only thing that remains, the presence of the sustainer. If you feel as though you are wandering, do not mistake the lack of familiar landmarks for a lack of direction. You are not lost. You are being refined. The heat that feels like it is scorching your resolve is actually burning off the impurities of your motivation. You are learning to walk, not by the sight of human achievement, but by the steady, invisible rhythm of the divine heartbeat. Many who walk this path find themselves caught in the trap of perfectionism. We have been conditioned to believe that a deep connection with the transcendent must look like a pristine, unbroken stream of consciousness, free from the debris of human weakness. We imagine that to be a person of faith is to be immune to the fatigue that settles into the marrow of our bones. This is a profound error. The greatest figures of our history, those who wrestled with the heavens and emerged with their spirits forever marked, were not the ones who possessed an unwavering tranquility. They were the ones who dared to bring their chaos into the light. They were the ones who shouted their frustrations at the ceiling, who wept in the dark, and who confessed their utter inability to sustain their own lives. It is precisely in this admission of brokenness that the miracle occurs. When you stop trying to project an image of spiritual strength, you finally create the space for actual power to enter. We often fear the silence because we suspect that if we stop talking, if we stop the constant motion of our daily routines, we will find that there is nothing waiting on the other side. You fear that the stillness will reveal a void. I assure you, based on the testimonies of those who have gone before us, that the opposite is true. The silence is not a void, it is a plenum. It is full of a weight and a depth that your busy mind simply is not calibrated to detect yet. To hear the melody that is being composed for your life, you must be willing to endure the dissonance of the transition. You must be willing to sit with the parts of yourself that you have tried so hard to bury, the grief you have not allowed yourself to feel, the ambition you are afraid to claim, the questions you are too terrified to voice. Bring them all into the silence. Do not edit your prayers. Do not curate your relationship with the Creator. The truth is the only language that the divine speaks fluently. Let us explore further the concept of the hidden melody I mentioned previously. Life is not a sequence of disconnected events, a random collision of circumstances that leads us toward an uncertain end. It is a symphony. Every sorrow you have endured, every failure that felt like a permanent mark against your name, every moment of profound loneliness. These are not notes of tragedy, but essential movements in the composition of your character. A symphony without minor keys would be shallow. It would lack the emotional architecture required to reach true beauty. When you are in the midst of a movement that feels dark, heavy, or discordant, you are not failing the composition. You are simply in the middle of a passage that demands depth. If you try to rush through it, if you try to force a fast-paced, cheerful ending because you are uncomfortable with the gravity of the moment, you rob your life of the very substance it is trying to produce. The sustainer is the conductor. He does not stop the music when the tempo slows or when the sound becomes haunting. He stays with the tempo. He holds the rhythm of your life in his hands, ensuring that every beat, every pause, and every swell of sound serves the integrity of the whole. This brings us back to the vital importance of trust. Trust is not a feeling. It is a posture. It is the decision to remain seated in the concert hall, even when the music becomes difficult to listen to, trusting that the composer knows exactly how to resolve the tension. You have been holding the baton yourself for too long, haven't you? You have been trying to write the music, conduct the orchestra, and play the lead instrument all at once, and it has left you exhausted, brittle, and resentful. What would happen if you simply let go of the baton? What would happen if you trusted the conductor to lead you through this movement, even if you cannot see the score? This transition you are facing is an invitation to release control. It is a process of unlearning the obsession with outcomes. We live in a culture that worships the result. We want the promotion, the milestone, the healing, and the resolution immediately. We treat the divine as a vending machine or a consultant hired to ensure our path is smooth. But faith is not a transaction, it is a transformation. The result is not the point, you are the point. The person you are becoming as you walk through this valley is the true objective of this season. Even if the circumstances around you remain unchanged for weeks or months or years, the work being done within your spirit is eternal. I know it is exhausting. I know that sometimes you look up and wonder if the heavens are brass, if your words are simply bouncing off the ceiling and dissolving into the ether. I know the temptation to walk away, to settle for a life of surface-level distractions, to numb the ache of longing with the trivialities of the day. But that ache is the most precious thing you possess. It is the proof that you were made for more than this world can provide. That dissatisfaction you feel is not a flaw in your character. It is a compass needle. It is pointing you toward a horizon that most people are too distracted to notice. Do not resent the ache. Honor it. Nurture it. Understand that your inability to be satisfied by the mundane is a sign that you are designed for the extraordinary. As we deepen this inquiry, we must also address the community of the spirit. You were never intended to walk this path in isolation. The lie of the modern age is that spirituality is an entirely private affair, a secret tucked away in the back of your mind. But look at the history of the faithful. They gathered in caves, in catacombs, in homes, and under the open sky. They shared their meals and their agonies. They held each other up when the weight became too much to bear. If you are struggling, it is likely because you have been trying to carry the burden of your mission alone. We provide a space where you are not just a spectator, but a participant in a larger story. By joining our mailing list, you are not merely signing up for information. You are aligning yourself with a collective of seekers who are also walking the path of the desert, the path of the valley, and the path of the light. You are finding your people. You are finding a resonance that will strengthen your own. Imagine a life where your days are no longer dictated by the frantic need to prove your worth. Imagine a life where you wake up with a sense of purpose that is not dependent on your performance. You have been carrying the weight of being the savior of your own life, and it is a weight that will eventually crush you. It is time to hand that over. It is time to step into the rest that has been prepared for you from the foundation of the world. This is not a cessation of work, but a shift in the source of your energy. You will still walk, you will still strive, and you will still contribute, but you will do so from a place of overflow rather than a place of depletion. You will act because you are loved, not to be loved. You will live because you are known, not to be known. The rain I spoke of earlier, the rain that washes away the stagnant layers of your soul, is beginning to fall now. Can you feel it? It is subtle at first, a light misting that barely dampens the ground. It is the call to repentance, which is simply the call to turn around and face the source of your life once more. It is the call to release the idols of status, security, and certainty that you have built to protect yourself from the unknown. Let the rain fall. Let it seep into the cracks you have tried to hide. Let it dissolve the hardened exterior you have worn for so long. You are being softened for a season of harvest. The seeds that have been lying dormant under the dry, cracked earth of your recent experiences are about to spring forth, but they cannot grow if you continue to hide them under the shadow of your fear. Your story is not a tragedy waiting for a climax. It is a masterpiece in progress. There is no chapter, no matter how painful, that the master designer cannot weave into the grand narrative of your redemption. Even your mistakes, even your seasons of rebellion, even your moments of profound doubt are being transmuted into something beautiful. This is the mystery of grace. It does not erase your history, it redeems it. It takes the broken shards of your past and turns them into a mosaic that reflects a light no one else could possibly replicate. Your life becomes the testimony. Your struggles become the evidence of a power that is greater than any obstacle. So, look forward. Do not let the shadows of the past dictate the light of your future. The transformation is happening precisely where you are, in the mundane, in the quiet, and in the persistent pursuit of the divine. You are standing on the threshold of something deep, something authentic, and something that will redefine everything you thought you knew about your existence. Stay the course. Keep your heart open even when it feels like it is made of stone. The warmth is coming, the light is breaking through. Your significance is not found in what you produce, but in whose you are. You are the hidden son, the weary prophet, the struggling believer, and you are exactly where you need to be. The journey continues, and the best is yet to be revealed. Keep listening, keep waiting, keep trusting. The melody is only just beginning.